First off, congratulations, because I absolutely love the movie. I am living in my parents' house right now, so I felt like it was very appropriate for me.
Oh, excellent.
I wanted to start with the process of putting this script together because, Judd, I know when it came to something like Trainwreck, you really pushed Amy to make that script more personal. So I was wondering if this was a similar situation where there's permutations of this script that are closer to Pete's real life and also ones that were further away.
I think that, we were always aware that we wanted this to be fictional, but lead to some sort of emotional truth. So, in real life, Pete wasn't a slacker pothead in his 20s who had no direction. He was actually a very driven comedian who was on Saturday Night Live at 20 years old. He actually succeeded crazy early. He's in a lot of ways the opposite of this, but this was a bit of an imagining of what might have happened to him if he didn't find comedy. And we thought in a story like that, we could show you how he was feeling and what it took for him to get over the grief and trauma that his family went through.
And Pete, I was reading in the press notes that there was a script that you wrote with Dave a while back that didn't pan out before you guys wrote this one. So I'm just curious now, what was that about? And how did you get over that not working out, but then jumping to this?
I think it was just about, it was like 90 pages of just like fart jokes. Like there was no humanity in it. There was no like emotion. There was no, there wasn't any of that. And then, once we started working with Judd, how he's so great at, doing all those things, he really created a great product of emotion and weaved it into this beautiful story that we have now.
I couldn't agree more. Judd, I did want to ask you a little bit about the runtime on the movie and your movies in general, because you are well known for having a very full comedy and drama on your resume. So have you ever run into a situation where, I don't know, some sort of executive might have said to you, this movie is too long, especially because this was on the South by Southwest lineup, and it is kind of a trope for festivals that it's more programmable if your movie's shorter.
Well, for me, there's usually a moment where I realize that if I make it shorter, I'm going to lose some of the character work or the story in a way that's going to make it worse. And so you're always debating, what is the attention span of the audience? And I'm usually of the mind, if you care and you're enjoying the world, you don't mind staying for another 10 or 15 minutes if it's going to deepen the whole thing. And the annoyed part of me is always like, well, if you're going to watch 6 hours of Tiger King in a row, you can handle 2:15. Come on. We're not hurting tigers.
I genuinely mean it. You earn every minute of screen time in this movie. I think this is a story that definitely calls for it. Pete, now that you have a great writing credit to your name, how about getting behind the lens and directing? Is that of interest at all?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I'm ever lucky enough to be able to do that, that would be great. I think, just watching Judd is incredible. You get to watch, I've said this in a few interviews, it's like watching Willy Wonka make his candy. It's just watching a genius at the helm. And if I'm ever fortunate enough to be able to do that, that would be wonderful.
Well, Judd's able to churn out movies like this because he had good folks leading the way for him. And this leads me to my last question, a little off topic for you, Judd. I was just wondering if you've ever considered directing a narrative scripted film about Gary Shandling's life.
I haven't. I felt so lucky to find so much material about Gary, video, diaries, jokes, and in a lot of ways, that project, the Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling, that documentary felt like the story he wanted to tell. It felt very guided by Gary. I think there were a lot of ideas he didn't find a way to express in his work that he was just dancing around. And I do think that, that was the way to do it. And then we did put out a book called It's Gary Shandling's Book last year, which has a lot more of his diaries and jokes, and it's an oral history. So if people are so hungry for info, and I always am, that's a great book.
I'll always want more, but I respect that approach. Last thing for you here. I have a feeling you've probably been asked this, but Judd, are you going to let Pete give you a tattoo anytime soon?
There is a part of me that wants to, I would have to get a lot of electrolysis to clear an area. I got to clear a brush, and then I can do it. So it's all about location.
Never thought electrolysis was going to come up in one of my interviews, but I understand. Thank you guys so much. And again, big congratulations on the movie.
Thank you very much.